Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our physical geography lecture on Chapter 18, Arid Lands. Today, we're going to explore what might seem like a contradiction, the powerful role of water in shaping desert landscapes. Now, despite their aridity, water remains the primary architect of desert landforms, creating distinctive features through brief but impactful hydrological events. All right. So, it might surprise you that running water is actually the most important external agent for landform development in desert regions. While precipitation is rare, when it does occur, it's often intense and dramatic in its effects. Without dense vegetation to absorb rainfall or slow the runoff, desert storms produce abrupt, powerful flows across the landscape. So, let me paint a picture for you. Imagine standing in Arizona's Sonoran Desert during a summer monsoon. The sky darkens, and within minutes, a torrential downpour transforms dry washes into raging rivers. This brief but very violent hydrology can move astonishing volumes of sediment in just hours, carving new channels and depositing material across the desert floor. So desert surface water is it generally falls into three categories. The first is what we call exotic streams. Now, these are permanent water courses that originate outside the desert in wetter regions. The Nile River exemplifies this perfectly. It flows through the Sahara Desert, but receives virtually no water contribution from that Sahara Desert itself. Instead, it brings water from the highlands of Ethiopia and Central Africa, which include more tropical regions and receive rainfall. So, similarly, the Colorado River traverses the American Southwest, supplying water that originated as snow melt from the Rocky Mountains. So these are called exotic streams. Next, we have ephemeral streams, which make up over 99% of all desert waterways. These channels flow briefly during immediate and after precipitation events. Then they quickly dry up. In the Mojave Desert, you'll find countless dry washes that transform into active streams just for a few hours after a thunderstorm. What is fascinating is how these short lived flows still manage to be powerful agents of erosion and deposition. So next we have desert lakes. Desert lakes exist in various forms, with dry lake beds being particularly common. Playas are flat, dry lake beds in basins of interior drainage. California's racetrack playa in Death Valley is famous for its sailing stones that mysteriously move across the surface. Salinas are dry lake beds with high salt concentrations. The Bonneville salt flats in Utah are an example of this feature, and you'll see many throughout this lecture. They have their brilliant white crust of minerals. Okay, so this is where the minerals from the surrounding mountains wash down with a rain event, and the minerals then concentrate in the dry lake bed after evaporation. Permanent lakes and deserts are rare exceptions. Smaller ones typically exist only where fed by permanent springs or streams from nearby mountains. Many permanent desert lakes are saline, like the Great Salt Lake in Utah, which is a remnant of the much larger prehistoric lake that existed during a wetter climate period. So the morphology of desert stream channels is distinctive. Typically, we have steep-sided with flat floors and sandy bottoms. And these features go by various regional names: arroyos in the American Southwest, wadis in North Africa and the Middle East, and dongas in parts of Africa. Their formation and evolution reflect the episodic nature of desert precipitation. Flash floods scour these channels during brief and intense rainfall events. Between floods, wind may modify the channel and sediment accumulates, ready to be transported during the next flood event. The stepped episodic nature of this process creates the characteristic channel morphology that we observe across desert regions worldwide. Desert erosion creates some of Earth's most dramatic landscapes through a process called differential weathering and erosion. This occurs when different rocks or different parts of the same rock erode at varying rates due to differences in the rock's resistance. Monument Valley's iconic buttes and mesas illustrate this process perfectly. More resistant sandstone caps protect the underlying softer shales, creating these distinctive flat top formations. As erosion progresses, we see a spectrum of features develop. Inselbergs are island mountains, isolated summits rising abruptly from a low relief surface. Uluru in Australia stands as perhaps the world's most famous example. We also have bornhardts, which are rounded or composed of particularly resistant rock. These smooth-sided domes, like those found in parts of Namibia, stand above surrounding terrains that have been lowered by differential erosion. Pediments are gently inclined bedrock, are gently inclined bedrock platforms extending outward from mountain fronts. Like alluvial fans, pediments are erosional rather than depositional features. Excellent examples can be observed throughout Arizona's Basin and Range Province. Traditionally, geomorphologists believe pediments formed as desert mountains and then were worn down during wetter climate periods, though some may result from deep subsurface weathering or detachment faulting. Now let's talk about fluvial deposition in arid lands. The Piedmont zone, literally meaning foot of the mountains, represents a prominent area of fluvial deposition in deserts. What do I mean by fluvial deposition? Fluvial means water, deposition means to deposit. So water deposited materials. At the Piedmont angle, where steep mountain slopes abruptly transition into gentler plains, stream velocity drops dramatically. This sudden decrease in transport capacity causes streams to deposit and let go of their sediment load, creating distinctive landforms. The first one being alluvial fans. These alluvial fans form at the canyon mouths where streams emerge from the mountains, spreading into fan-shaped deposits. Death Valley contains textbook examples of these features. And you can see them here in this image where the mountainous stream flows down, and as it reaches the flat area, it spreads out, and that flow slows down and can no longer transport its materials. So here we have bajadas, and this a bajada forms when multiple alluvial fans merge across a mountain front, creating a continuous apron of sediment. And this is a picture I took here in Death Valley. In some desert regions, Piedmont deposits can reach depths of hundreds of feet, burying the lower portion of mountain ranges and creating the characteristic basin and range topography seen throughout Nevada and parts of the surrounding states. Death Valley National Park is part of this basin and range formation, and we have classic examples located there. So, as we conclude and wrap up this portion, it's important to note that desert rainfall already exhibits high year-to-year variability, and climate change projections suggest that variability may increase further. Many desert regions are experiencing desertification, and this is the expansion of desert conditions into previously non-desert regions. This is already happening due to climate change. This desertification process occurs through both natural climate fluctuations and human activities like overgrazing, deforestation, and unsustainable water use. In regions like the Sahel in Africa, desertification threatens millions of people's livelihoods, making understanding desert hydrology not just an academic pursuit, but one with profound humanitarian implications. So to conclude, understanding these processes help us to appreciate how seemingly contradictory forces, water scarcity and water power, work together to create this distinctive yet beautiful landscape of the world's desert regions. Thanks for joining me. In our next session, we're going to explore how wind shapes desert landscapes, complementing the fluvial processes we've just discussed.